Ladies and gentlemen, I have a treat for you. You know what I have in my hand? This is a power supply sent to me from YouTube username no reply. If you scroll in my comments, you will see him stating that he has a power supply that he would like to sell me. And I replied, go ahead, send it to me, buddy. And this is it. So I am unboxing this thing in front of you. I will attempt to repair this, and I will show you first that it doesn't work, and then I will show you the repairs from my awesome repair kit, and then I will place it back in my power supply, in my TV, to show you that it does work. And ladies and gentlemen, here it is. You'll see what's going on with this one right here. So this is just to promote my repair kits, that they do work, and so you guys can feel more confident, more, you know, secure, have a better, you know what I'm saying. Alright, Bar Fury here, back again. Now I did say that there wasn't going to be any editing, but I might have to do a little bit of editing, because, you know, or else we're going to have a long video. So I'm going to take the back off of my, as you can see, this is my LG 50PK540, right? And I'm going to take the back off, cover. We want to know why. You know what I'm saying? We want to know why. Why our TV is doing this. So this is the purpose. And of course to show that my repair kits are the bomb. Alright. As you can see, this is my power supply. What I did, for you viewers that think, oh, I wonder if he's using the same board. No, I'm not. As you can see, I named it no reply, just in case, so you can tell the difference between this board and my board. And you know, you have the colored fuse there and his name there. So, and this is my board without any name on it. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna plug my TV in to show that this is working. This is a working power supply, which is mine, and I'm going to show that it works. So before I switch it with the other one that doesn't work, from my good friend no reply. Here we go. I'm going to bring the camera over here. Sorry about the movement. And here we go. Alright, so as you can see, this is my my TV. If you haven't seen the raid, you haven't seen a movie, man. This guy takes on 3-4 people. But that's the movie, Raid. Oh man, beautiful. So it's on. That's my power supply. As you can see, TV's on. Now I'm going to take it off. Fire off my TV. And I'm going to replace it with the other board. You got to make sure you don't touch anything that might hurt you and put you in the hospital before you fix it. Alright. It's good advice. there. There you go. See, I'm taking that off. And I'm gonna now put in no replies power supply over here. Alright. Let's see what this thing is doing. So now you see, that's his power supply. And my TV, we all know my TV works. That's my power supply right there. That's no replies, right? Let me plug this thing up. There we go. Clicking. Let's see what's going on. Alright. So if you have a problem like this, you get a slight flash, like your TV's trying to come back on, you see it, and then it just says, no, I'm being a bully. I'm gonna stay off, you couch potato, fix me, fix me. And that's the clicking that I'm talking about. Trying to turn it on, it says no. And then you try to turn on again, and it says no. Here I'm gonna have the board out, counter here. I'm gonna try to test the fuses. The first thing you want to test is the fuses to see what's going on with them. They're still good. When we have 3 on this board, 1, 2, and 3. Let's see, I have my multimeter here, so I'm gonna try to show you guys the results I get from each, the component I test. So here we go. First fuse. Okay, that's cool. We're gonna go on to the next fuse here. Just that one. He's good. He's okay. Then we're gonna test this last one, top left. Hopefully the board don't fall again. Alright, so the fuses look like they're alright. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna test these 2 resistors, because what happens here is sometimes this one goes or this one. So that's why I always say on my videos to make sure you have someone test them, or if you know somebody with a multimeter, you have to test these parts before you go and purchase anything, either a power supply or either one of my kids, because you don't want to, the name of the game is saving money, not to waste money. So you need to test these parts and make sure one of these parts are your problem. If you have another problem, then that's another issue. But if your board is clicking and you test these and one is not testing, and then you test the fuses, your diodes, and this bad boy right here, and one of them is not cooperating with you, then that's your problem, and that's when you buy the kit. This is a working resistor right here, 22 ohms, 5 watts. Now, as you see in the multimeter, when I test it, a good resistor will say around 22 ohms. There we go. Brand new resistor. I don't want, one of my kids. Now, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and test. These are your resistors. The 2 I just showed you. One here. That's the back side of the board. Now, you test the first one on the bottom. If it doesn't say like around 22, then we have an issue. So here we go. See how this is jumping? Can't give me a steady reading. That's not good. Let's try the top one. See what's going on with that. And here we go, 22. So that's how you test, you know. Like I said, make sure you test them. So now we know this bad boy, that's the problem. Fuses are good. This guy look like he has an issue. And now we're gonna check that diode over there, but we're gonna have to take that out. That guy right there. So next time he will be out and we'll test that. Yep, don't freak out. This is the same video about testing diodes. Just had to replace my multimeter. It was giving me, it wasn't working in the diode setting. That's the only thing that changed. I'm still gonna go over testing the diodes. That is the setting that you need the multimeter in to test a diode. The other one wasn't working in that setting, so here we go. There's a couple things I need to mention. First off, if you're not familiar with soldering, I have to say it. If this is your first attempt in soldering anything or replacing any components, I recommend that you don't do it. I've seen cases where people try to do it, and this is the first time their soldering was sloppy, and they put the soldering gun on the board and they messed up the traces on the board. Now they have no power. You don't want that. You can do more damage than good. Take it to someone that knows how to solder. Take it to a tech guy. Tell him you want these parts replaced, or you know, just make sure you're doing the steps right, and you know, because you don't want to mess it up. Second, just because you have the components in the kit doesn't mean that you have to replace every component. Sometimes it could be just the fuse or the resistor that needs to change. Sometimes it's not even the standby voltage regulator. That is usually still good. The diode will let you know that. If you have a good diode, then chances are your voltage regulator is still good. Don't mess with it. Don't mess with any parts you don't need to mess with. If it's just the fuse that blown or the resistor, then change that. Don't change everything. If you want to, if you're a tech guy, you want to do it, whatever. But I say leave things well alone. Just if it's not broken, don't fix it. So that's why we have to have these tests, board tests, so you can know, okay, if the fuse is gone, you know, if the fuse is blown, then you're like, oh, okay, maybe I need to check the diode. But if the fuse is still good, the resistor looks like it's the only one that's gone, then change the resistor, and you know, and then go from there. You know, if you have the fuse is still good, you know, then chances are, you know, your board is not that bad. You know, sometimes it's just no power, and then yeah, you have to test the diode and all that stuff. So, you know, I just want to stress that you don't have to replace everything. You have to have it tested to see what you need to replace, and just replace those parts that needs to be replaced. All right, to do a proper test of a diode, first thing you need to know is, see that little strip, that little silver strip, little gray strip? That's your negative side. That means this black one has to be on this side, and the positive has to be on the other side. That's the first thing you need to know. Current only travels one way in these diodes, so that's the proper way. Have your multimeter on the right setting, and that's the right way to test it. And then we're going to go ahead and test it. There's a couple things. You can have a leaking diode, a shorted diode, or an open diode, you know. And if you want to learn more about that, you can hop on YouTube and you know, search that with, you know, what the differences are. All right. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and test it and see what we get. Okay, so we have like a, you know, 155, which is this is the 1 amp 400 volt diode, so it's not going to give us a high reading, but this is what the correct one, a working diode, should test around this one out of the kit. You might get, you know, 156, 158, you know, so around there.
Now if you reverse, because you're not supposed to have any current going on the other way, if you switch these around and you test it, you're supposed to have nothing. It's supposed to stay at that. That lets you know there's no current or nothing passing through the other way. That's a good sign. If you have a diode that gives you a reading on that side, you know, when you switch it, when you reverse test, then something's going on. Now this diode is, like I said, it's from another power supply board which works. It's gonna give us, like, if we go ahead and test it, it's gonna give us like, remember, the black on the negative side with the gray. If you test it, it's gonna give us like a 180 something. Like I said, each diode is different. They have different models, and they're gonna give us a little different voltage, but around 190. You know, like I said, the first one was 150 something. This one is, you know, 193, something like that. So, which is cool. If you reverse test it, it shouldn't give us any other reading as well. Should be just current going one way. That's how you know the diode is okay. Now we're gonna test the one that doesn't work. Same thing. Negative black on the gray side, positive on the other side. Move it up a little bit. Now let's see what happens when we test a diode that doesn't work. What reading do we get? Okay, hold on. That's not cool. So it's not even close. So that's a bad diode. That's a open diode. So it's like 0, 4, 2. No, that's not good. So that's the diode in question. That's the diode that, you know, and if we, let's say we reverse test it, it's not supposed to have any reading if it's still good. What happens? Oh, yep. That means something's wrong with that diode. That one has to be. So that's just the difference, you know. If you want to test the diode, now if your diode is good, I want to stress this. If your diode is good, if you take out your diode, not the one out of my kit, if you take out the one out of your board, you test it, it's giving you like a 180, 190, and then you reverse test it, and it doesn't have a reading. It's still at 1, or some multimeters to give you that OL overload. If it's still there, that means that means the diode is still good, and you might not have to change the voltage regulator because the diode is still good. Change the resistor and hope for the best. You know, it might just crank up. You might not have to change the voltage. If the fuse is gone, if you've been messing with the board so much, because that's what happened to my board. I'm gonna just tell you what happened to mine. I had the clicking happen to mine, and then I kept doing it. I kept turning the TV off, kept turning it on, kept turning it, and then eventually, you know, standby didn't kick in or whatever, and then it blew. My fuse went out after that. But my fuse was working first time around. I tested it, it was good, but all of a sudden it wouldn't crank up. I had no power. So if you keep messing with your TV and turn it on, turn it at one, eventually you can cause more damage. So that's what happened to mine. So I just want to share a little bit of what happened with me. So at first it wasn't that bad, but then kept messing with it. The fuse went, and then that's what I said, well, the fuse is gone. That means something blew the fuse. That's why let me check the diode, and the diode was bad. But in some incidents, in some situations, it might not be that. It might just be the resistor. And then, you know, the fuse is okay. The diode, you test the diode, it's giving you 180, and you're okay, cool. So just change that's what I always say, just change what you have to change. Okay, so moving on.
Alright, you see I just replaced the diode here. I'm going to flip it over so you can see the actual wire. That's the wire there, and I have to solder it in a little bit. Just wanted to show you guys that I replaced it. I'm replacing the parts as I speak. And remember, when you're replacing this diode here, remember I'm going to show you. Sorry about that, but remember diode here, there's a, see, remember I told you about the silver part? That's the negative side. And this circle, make sure this is going, the gray, the little stripe is on this side of the circle. You know, these diodes only flow in, you know, current flows one way. So make sure when you replace it, look at the parts you're replacing and, you know, go by that. Remember how the parts were placed, and then you go from there. But the negative, that negative side is that little gray strip right there on the top of the diode, and it's pointing toward this dark circle. See, the other side doesn't have that, so make sure you keep that the right way, or else you're gonna mess it up. Alright, so the last guy we gotta replace is this guy right here. Yeah. Pretty much get him out of there. And I'll be back when I do. I just unsoldered voltage regulator. Take it out. See, it's right here. And I'm gonna replace it with a brand new one. So I gotta put the heatsink compound on that heatsink there. Gotta put that on there. Before you oh, that's one thing I didn't mention. You have to put back the heatsink compound when you're gonna put the new one in, so make sure you have some of that. Probably get some from Radio Shack or something, you know. That's where I got this from, so make sure you put some of that, so you know when the heatsink gets hot, you don't want this guy, you know, you don't want this guy getting too hot. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you put some of that in there. Let's see if I can get this in. It's all messy. Can't find the hole, y'all. There we go. I know I still had it. God, I guess it done. I guess it done. Tight work, tight work, tight work right there. Alright, so next part will be I will solder this, the last component in, and we're gonna test it, see if everything is good. The moment of truth right there. Okay, I'm finished with the replacement of the parts that were in question. They're right here. The only thing I didn't have to replace was the fuse, so that was good. Now I am about to put this bad boy in that TV, and you and me both, we are both curious to see if this is gonna work. This is live. I'm not even joking. I'm gonna look like a retard. You know what I'm saying? If this doesn't work. So without further ado, I'll put this bad boy over here. Actually, I'm gonna put it right where I had it before. As you can see, that's the board. That's his name. I'm gonna put it in my TV to see what's going on. Moment of truth right here.
Moment of truth. This is what's gonna go down. What's gonna go down is that this thing is gonna crank the heck up. And we are gonna have donuts with my mom. I'm gonna buy my mom a donut, you know what I'm saying? This one work, I'm gonna buy her, shoot. I'm gonna buy something good, man. Buy something good. Some fruits. It's healthy, you know what I'm saying? It's healthy. Alright. So, all we have to do is plug this bad boy in. See what's going on. Okay, usual relay click. Searching. What's gonna go down? What's gonna go down? As you can see, this is my power supply. So I'm not, I don't have little midgets in the back replacing it real quick, because you can't see. No, that's my power supply. And this is no replies. So this is what's gonna happen. It's gonna crank up. There we go. Oh, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, success once again. This kit is serious. If you want your TV working again, if you want it back to life, if you're trying to figure out why is he doing this to me? I just showed you from start to finish. This repair kit will take care of all your problems, all your clicking relay problems. And do yourself a favor. Hit me up. Let me know if you want me to repair it. You can ship it to me. Hey, it's all good. See you next time.